This is the FarmHopLife podcast, a traveling homestead family. I'm Matt DeRozier. Tonight, my guest is Warlord Rancher. He is an ex-programmer from San Diego. He left the city life for Montana. Now he raises a herd of cattle, pastured egg flock, goats, turkeys, and hogs. How's it going tonight?
It's going well.
So, for the people that might see me normally. I am running on backup power right now because, of course, the power went out right before we scheduled this thing, and so I ran around. Of course, I'm a bad prepper, and my generator doesn't start, and so I found I got a little inverter for my truck, and so I drove my truck around the side of the house and threw a little inverter on it and ran an extension cord to the side. Like, I need internet. I'm not missing this interview. So that's why my office looks funny than it normally does. But you don't really care about that. I want to talk to you about stuff. So your handle, Warlord Rancher. We're gonna talk about this a little bit, and we're gonna evaluate your Warlord status, I guess. Like, how much of a warlord are you? So I'm going to ask you some questions, and
Okay.
I apologize, I didn't prepare you for this whatsoever.
In other words, you're going to force me to think about that moniker a lot more than I have so far.
Yes, exactly. So I've heard you're quick. So let's see how quick you are. Okay. So first thing, you got a good beard. So that's that's a good thing. That's a good quality of a warlord. You're a rebel by growing your own food, and I'm sure a bunch of other things we're about to find out. And you live in the mountains. Those are all good qualities to have for a warlord. So questions for this warlord. The signal of war, drums or a horn? What's your preference?
Horn, typically. Carnix, if you have it.
What's that?
But that tends to be more Celtic than anything. If you want to get into the more interesting war instruments, bagpipes.
Bagpipes are an instrument of war. I did not know that.
Yeah, very much so.
I didn't know that. Okay, next question. Do you have a signature war cry? You don't need to display it unless you really want to. I'm just curious if you have a war cry.
Well, one of my mentors from many years ago had a fantastic war cry that quite literally stopped enemy lines. And it went something like, "My nipples are hard." Now,
that would stop somebody.
When I say mentor, I have spent many, many years doing medieval combat reenactment, and the action has gotten pretty heavy. Now, we didn't use real weapons, but boy, oh boy, they leave bruises anyways.
I bet they do.
And the adrenaline is very real. So it's a lot of fun. But the group that I used to do that with kind of went woke recently. So
that's weird.
I'm floating.
How does a reenactment? I don't know. We don't have to go there unless maybe we talk about it in the after show.
Sure.
maybe.
Okay. Long and short, I fight in armor.
Nice. A specific time period piece of armor, or
mostly Old Norse, mail, helmet, lots of leather, center grip round shield. That's my thing.
That sounds awesome. That sounds super cool. Do you have a preferred fighting technique?
Depends on what I'm fighting with. I love a 9-foot spear. I can do things with a 9-foot spear that are frightening.
I can only imagine, like a spear based on like like Spartan, like a Spartan spear, or like a Viking spear, or
Oh, like a leaf blade spear. Uh, uh, More of a thrusting spear than a cutting spear. But hey,
okay.
if I have a cutting spear, I can use that pretty well too.
Sure, sure. So after winning a battle, what god, gods, entity, or beings do you give thanks to, like Odin or something?
Well, that's a pretty good start.
Just like
Uh, Odin, very definitely.
good, good. That's a
Um,
good
if
warlord.
if we were outmatched, but we won anyway, Thor would be a good choice. Um, yeah, Tyr is always a good one to reach out to. Um, and then, but Odin is always the go-to.
Sure, sure. It's the default. I gotcha. So, being a modern day warlord, have you received money or supplies from the government?
From the government.
Yeah, any government.
No, I'm not a foreign warlord,
Damn.
but I receive money from tenants.
They bet they think of you as a warlord, like this
They
a
don't even
hole.
know who I am.
How many child soldiers do you command?
Whew. Well, I'm running a little shy on that part. That's not usually something that I do. Child soldiers? No, no, no. I much prefer well trained adults, and I do have some well trained adults who will fight alongside of me.
That's good. That's always good to have. I mean, it's nice to have a warlord with morals. I mean, that you just don't see that very often. Um,
Oh, more
how
honorable.
many how many wives do you have?
How many wives?
Yeah, how many wives do you have?
Just one.
Okay, just checking. Just
That's
wanted
plenty.
to. Is it quality over quantity? Is that it?
Absolutely.
Good choice. Good choice.
Absolutely.
So, last question. Rate the movie Lord of War starring Nicolas Cage.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh man. Well,
I have seen The Warlord with Charlton Heston.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Now that's a fine movie. That's a
I
very
will.
fun movie.
I will watch that if you watch Lord of War with Nicolas Cage.
I'll have to dig that one up.
You probably won't like it, but that's it. That's all my questions. After my review, I'll give you a 9 out of 10 on a warlord status.
Well,
It's pretty.
hold on now. This means we run into how shall I say ad lib territory or just
What do you
common.
mean?
Well, you have some answers. You have some material. We can build on this.
Can you elaborate? I'm not following.
Okay, so you had a set of questions. I answered those questions. Answers always bring on new questions. What would you like to know? Uh, you've seen my posts on Twitter. Do you want to dig into that? Do you want to dig into some other material?
Oh, I've got way more questions. That was just my
Fantastic.
little
That was the Warlord set.
that was my warlord set of questions and a little bit of a teaser. So I got plenty of questions. Don't worry. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't crap out on you.
And I am working on a fortress. So coming along nicely.
So ex-programmer from California moves to Montana. How does like what type of programming? Why Montana? Um, why farming? All these things. I've have like take me back. Walk
Okay.
walk me through it.
Um, so I got my first master's degree in computer science in 2006. Wait, was it? No, no, no. I started the program in 2006, graduated in 2008, and I picked up and moved up here to Montana. Um, the kind of programming that I had been doing up to that point was mostly PHP and ASP programming, web stuff. Didn't really go for it. Wanted to do something else, something that wasn't so dependent upon tables and forms. And that was a lot of tables and forms. So when I came up here, I wanted to go somewhere where I had more freedom than California offered. With California assault weapons bans, the taxation was terrible. The traffic was terrible. For the longest time, I would spend 2 to 3 hours driving to and from work. That if I didn't have to drive there, during the rush hours, it would take me maybe 30 minutes either way. I just wanted to get away from that. I came up here. I worked at a community college as an adjunct instructor for a while, and then went and got my second degree, or my second master's degree. My first master's degree was from one of these schools, and it's like, who's that? But my second master's degree was from USC, a much more prestigious school. And I learned a lot of really cool stuff. Now, most of my classmates went and got jobs with Google or Microsoft. And I said, I don't care what they're paying you. You can't work for Google or Microsoft in an office and be able to live on 10 acres of trees in a 3-story house. It just does not exist there. I got job offers for, 6-digit income. And, oh, yeah, we're a firm in New York, and we'd love to hire you for $150,000. This is like back maybe 2013. And I asked them, well, would I be able to maintain my current living situation? And they said, well, what's that? Well, I live on 10 acres in a 3-story log house. And the guy says, well, no, but so what can I afford for $150K? You could get an apartment in Queens. Why would I downgrade like that just to work for money that doesn't get me anything in New York? So yeah, sure, I didn't make anywhere near as much money here, but I did some creative investing and some fun stuff, and I got by for a while. For the most part, I worked on my own. Then my dad passed away. My mom got Alzheimer's. Luckily, my dad moved my mom up to Montana before this all happened, and I was able to take care of her with some substantial monetary benefits. I handled her finances, but the understanding was, since it was a full-time job, I was remunerated reasonably well through that whole time.
Sure.
And then when my mother passed away, there was a substantial trust, which I was managing, that had grown extensively while I was managing it. And that has afforded me the lifestyle that I choose. Why farming? Well, I'm seeing a lot of push for veganism. I'm seeing a lot of push for food shortages. For food shortages. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. And there is no security without food security.
Absolutely. So you're trying to fill a market. If people want to go vegan, they go vegan. Obviously, you're like, not my customer base. I don't care.
Right.
But the empty shelves, that's and quality, like quality food. That's where I can step in and fill that niche.
Yes.
Nice.
And we grow quality food here. We haven't come out to the local market yet, but our focus is extremely local market. We're not looking to ship food out to the next county, let alone the next state.
Sure.
So we already have a customer base, and given what we're producing, we're having a hard time keeping up with our customer base. Our shelves are empty all the time, but we're ramping up production constantly.
Sure. Yeah. So moving, so you like your dad and your mom moved to Montana. Was that before or after you had already moved to Montana?
Oh, that was well after.
Okay. So how did the like homesteading and farming like get started? Like did you guys have a garden in California? Did you have to do it on your own when you first got to Montana, or like what was that first step? Like
Well,
how that
I lived
all
in a
come
condominium
together?
in San Diego.
Okay.
The closest thing to gardening that I did was I grew some onions in the rain gutter. Not intentionally, they just kind of grew there. And then the HOA came and wiped them all out, which is kind of too bad, but oh well. Um, you know, yet another thing that I didn't like about living there.
Sure.
When I sold that place, I moved up here, and with the same money, less about 10 grand, I bought a 10-acre property with a 3-story log house with shop space and garage space and all of that. It was in the woods, but the soil was good. The sunlight was fine. I didn't grow a garden for a number of years there, but I had some roommates and started up a garden, and that was good. But I didn't really get into it uh, until my wife and I got together, and then I put together some garden beds for her. After we'd gotten engaged, put together some garden beds for her, and we grew some various things, carrots and beets and salad greens, and gosh, I can't even remember everything that we grow. But having those things on hand right there, always fresh, was kind of a turning point. I'd always had to hunt through boxes of salad greens to find the one that didn't have the slime in it.
Right.
And that's kind of gross.
All that juice at the bottom is just that salmonella just brewing in those salad containers. That's what that is.
Well, somebody had to do all the work to get those salad greens there, and the question is, what are the sanitary conditions of that? I don't know.
Right. So your motivations, it seems like, to growing your own food is that there's a market for it and you don't want to eat gross food. Is there more to it than that? Is there more than just like, I want to eat better and I want to feed people that while making profit, obviously?
There is a little
food.
bit more. Right now I have about 190 acres here, and it's looking pretty good right now.
Looking
But
nice.
last year, if you'd seen this, it almost looked like a desert. So now we're not doing managed grazing right now, but that's because we're trying to build a house and we're trying to do so many other things. Build a house, build a garden, start up all these projects. We've got a gazillion projects, and once the cattle kind of got loose last spring. It's like, yeah, let them. Oh, they're just going to go through and do their own thing. Okay, let them. So we just let them graze, but in the future we're going to be managing them more closely and restoring the pasture. Ideally, you see all these pretty yellow flowers. Those are plants that pull nutrients from deep below up to the surface. They're an indication that there's kind of something wrong here, but they're trying to fix it, which is a wonderful thing. So at least they're growing all over the place and doing their job.
Sure. Those yellow flowers, is that like mustard and stuff that's popping up? Because I got that all over my place.
There's some mustard here, but that itself, I don't remember what it is.
Okay.
But yeah,
I was just
we
curious.
definitely do have mustard here.
Sure. So let's going into like some like methods and practices and techniques that you operate at your ranch, I guess. Well, you're a rancher, so yeah, it's a ranch. So you said last year this where you're sitting looked a lot like a desert. How did you manage that? How did you turn that around, especially so quickly?
Well, for one thing, last year was very dry. This year is not.
Okay, that helps.
Last year it was 105 degrees here for about 6 weeks, starting mid-June. Maybe it was more than 6 weeks because it just went on and on and on. We haven't seen over 91 degrees this year, and we've seen a lot more rain. Last year there were fires and whatnot up here, like a lot of fires. This year, I haven't seen smoke at all. So this is just a different year. This is a normal year. Last year was a furnace year. So I guess it comes and goes.
Sure. I mean, you gotta take it where you can get it, right? Like I'll take lower heat, more rain. Sounds good to me. Turn my field around.
Yeah.
So you got how many cows do you have?
About 30 total.
What breed do you use?
Most of our cattle are low-line Angus, and we got a small herd of low-line Angus from somebody in the Corvallis area. So that was a pretty good herd. Came with mostly cows and heifers, a few steers. Well, apparently we got one fewer steer than we thought. Apparently the steering committee kind of screwed up on one of them. Now he's very masculine for a steer. So we got a Dexter bull, and Dexter on low line Angus makes very, very nice meat.
Does it? I haven't heard that mix before.
Yeah, very fine grain and just really, and we kind of decided that we wouldn't get a bull because they can wreck up things. This guy's such a softie, and it's such a sweetheart. He's wonderful. So that's our beef herd. We've got 1.5 bulls there. And a few, we picked up some bum calves off of a local dairy and integrated them into our milking group. Our dairy side, we have 3 active milkers right now. Fourth one is a milker in training, shall we say. She's a young heifer. We have 2 brown Swiss and 2 Normandies. The brown Swiss make fantastic, rich, creamy milk, as do the Normandies. But the Normandies make a quality of milk that allows creation of Camembert and Brie cheeses. So we're thinking down the road about branching off into that once we get our commercial kitchen up and running.
Oh wow, that'd be awesome.
And we'll have 2 Normandies on the line by that point, maybe more. We'll see what happens. But we got a couple of bum calves on our dairy line, so that we could take vacations. I mean, we don't have to milk twice a day, every day. We could take vacations if we want to. The calves will take care of the milking enough so that we can not have to worry about it for a day. Then they grow up, they go out to, once they're weaned, they go out to the beef herd. So we've got a couple of Holstein steers and a half Angus, half brown Swiss steer out there with a beef herd. They're fine, but they'll make good meat anyhow.
Sure. Yeah. So do you like oh man, the term just escaped me. Paddock shift. Paddock shift your cows, intensively graze, or like how do you shift all 30 together like at once, like in an acre, and move them every couple days, or can you go into some specifics there?
Well, we did some rotational grazing last year because considering the quality of what we had here, which was pretty poor, we felt that we needed to get on it right away. We were a little bit surprised this spring when everything just blew up and turned green, because last year it was scrubby brome, and everything was yellow by May. So we tightly managed them last year, and we'd give them about an acre or so and move them either on a daily basis or every 2 days. The hardest part of doing that was moving their water supply, which we didn't really know a whole lot about how to do this stuff. We knew the basics, but the idea of, okay, we're going to put the water supply here where we can fill it easily, and then have a corridor to where our grazing paddocks are, that, sure, it kind of creates a sacrificial corridor, but you don't have to worry about moving a big water tank around. You don't have to dump it out every single day or, every other day, move it and then refill it, and have to have hoses strung out for 500, 700 feet to get to the water tank.
Right. Yeah. So is that different than what you're doing now?
Right now we're trying to build. So we just kind of said, well, there's plenty of grass, and doing the rotational management is management intensive. It takes probably a couple of hours getting things moved from one paddock to another if we were doing it the way we did it last year easily.
Yeah.
So it is a fair amount of work, and we haven't done the background work necessary to make it any easier yet. So we've got a spring way down there. There's a creek that's flowing like wild that they have access to. So we just let them go.
Sure.
We have a good high tensile fence going around the property. It's electrified. The cattle aren't going to be going through it. Elk might, but not this time of year.
Right.
We do get elk here in the winter months and early spring. A lot of elk, hundreds of them.
Nice.
And they wreck up the fence pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's their main goal. That's why they're here as a species, is to wreck fence.
Yeah.
And eat hay.
But if they're coming in through a fence, I'd rather they come in through a high tensile fence that I own rather than a barbed wire fence that I own, because that high tensile fence is super easy to repair.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let me go back to all your endeavors here. So how do your how do your chickens, goats, and turkeys also fit into this mix?
Well, right now, we basically have our chickens processing compost piles, and we have scoured the land for horse businesses and whatnot that don't know what to do with their manures.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that there are a lot of them. So we have kind of in our front pasture, we have compost piles building up, and they'll be used. Uh, that'll help the gardens, and we've got a manure spreader that we can spread for pastures and whatnot if we get an area that needs a little bit of help. But chickens love processing compost. Now, we'd like to get to a feed neutral setup where, say, we pick up organic waste from restaurants and whatnot, and then compost that such that the chickens can get into that. Takes care of the chicken feed. We don't have to worry about feeding the chickens anymore. They produce eggs, and what gets left over turns into a very nice compost. So we'd like to get into doing something like that. It's just time setting it up. Mm-hmm. And we've got, like I said, we've got a lot of projects going already.
Would you say that this year is more dedicated to infrastructure than it is to intensely managing livestock?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're currently working on setting up all of our infrastructure. We have been here for almost a year, and we do not have a completed building other than the greenhouse, which is massive. But a greenhouse does not make a proper house.
No, it doesn't.
It's great for sheltering from the rain, but it gets awfully hot, and it doesn't shelter against the cold that well. So we're still living in a camper. We're building as fast as we can, but that's just it. When you're building as fast as you can, a lot of the other management stuff gets left aside.
Right. Yeah. It's probably, I mean, let's say you had it's like a juggling thing, right? You have like 20 balls up in the air, and you can only dedicate so much time to each thing. And then sometimes you just let the ball drop. Like, okay, I guess that one's not terribly important. Maybe I'll pick it up later. But I gotta definitely keep these other 12 in the air while trying to find time to pick up that other one. So, I mean,
yes. And you got to keep the ones up in the air that, that mean animal survivorship and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So keeping everybody fed and watered and all of that stuff. Yeah, sure, we could simplify some of these processes, but if it takes a huge amount of time to simplify those processes, well, we got to find that time to do that.
Or everything gets the Band-Aid treatment until then.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What kind of things have you tried that work well? Like a breed of pig, or starting turkeys at a specific time and they finish out at a certain weight that works better, or anything like that?
Well, we've got turkeys, but we haven't really managed them very well. We're going to have a conversation with the turkeys and see how they want to set up, like, what their long-term plan is, because we haven't really gotten there yet. Now, the hogs that we're running right now are Mangalitsa.
Nice.
And I like mangalitsa a lot. Just the flavor is exquisite. So I'm very pleased with them, except for when they break out of their pen. I don't like them very much when they do that. But yeah, for the most part, they're good pigs. They, I wish I had more work for them. We have a fantastic mix, like a cover crop mix that includes a lot of tubers and such
Sure.
that we are planning on planting, and maybe we'll do it next year. And then that will give a lot of ground for the pigs to go rooting things up and whatnot. Pigs are fantastic for turning compost. They're wonderful for that. So when it comes time to say move the dairy cows, if we've got a bedding pile or something like that, we'll just turn the hogs loose in that. One of the things that we should do, and we haven't gotten around to doing it that much, is spreading corn inside of the bedding for other animals, so that when it comes time to unleash the hogs and get them working, they've got a good reward for getting in there. But like I said, we're just starting up here, so there are a lot of these processes that I still have to learn a lot about.
Sure, it's like an experience thing where I think this is how I want to do it, and I probably need to make corrections along the way, but time will tell if this works or not.
Yeah, and we're looking at a lot of different things. We're looking at food security, but if things get really bad, and I don't know how bad things are going to get or what's going to happen in the next 5 years. There's no way. 5 years ago, I could have told you what would happen by now more accurately than I can tell you what will happen in the next 5 years. Things are getting strange out there. And it's one thing to have food security, but how about security for your food security? And that's a concern that we have here. One of the lucky things is where we are is kind of like the end of the road. So there's no reason to come here unless you're coming here.
Sure. I think you had talking about your security for your food. I think you did have you posted on Twitter not too long ago about people stealing cattle in Montana, and like how do you fight that? How do you work with that? How do you prevent that? That brought up a lot of that. Actually gained quite a bit of traction, and I didn't get the answers or anything, but it was interesting discussion for sure.
Well, I read every single answer on that one, at least up to a point. But there were a lot of people who said, "Go out there and shoot them." Well, great. Montana has a pretty solid castle doctrine.
Sure.
And if there are people in the commission of a felony, then you can use force to stop them from committing that felony. Getting onto a person's property, breaking through their gate, is considered one such. And being in a position where, well, sure, I can just go out and start shooting away, blasting away at them. Well, great. Okay. Don't take this as legal advice, by the way, because I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not saying this is a good idea, because it's not. If somebody's on my property and they're collecting up cattle, they know that there's a strong castle doctrine here, and they're doing it anyways. Either means that they're confident that I will be completely unaware of what's going on, or they've got some kind of security. Maybe that security is just, I'm going to hightail it and run as soon as somebody starts opening fire here. But that security could also be somebody in the bushes pointing a rifle at my front door.
Right. Anticipating an attack.
Yeah. And that's with law and order still in existence. Well, but then it becomes a murder investigation and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. So these guys take the cattle, shoot the owner, and then leave. And who's going to witness it? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's going on in South Africa all the time. They're getting away with it. Who's going to witness it? Who's going to do something about it? Where's the evidence? It's not there.
Yeah, and you're dead.
Yeah,
that's
right. It doesn't matter if they get caught or not. I'm dead.
Yeah. And if it were to go the other way, like, okay, you had to shoot somebody. Well, I guess you didn't have to, but like, you might have killed somebody. Like, that's not very good either.
That's not great.
So in that discussion, what good ideas? What were actual good ideas that came out of that discussion? Anything?
Number one, disabling a vehicle is top choice. If you take out one tire on a vehicle, they're going to have a very hard time pulling a stock trailer.
Sure.
You take out one tire on the vehicle, one tire on the stock trailer, forget about it.
Sure.
So, but that means that you have to get out the front door, right? Infrared. You can see that guy in the bushes. So if you have some way of seeing infrared, like a infrared scanner eyepiece or something like that, and you can find them for about $3,000. Yeah, $3,000. That's a lot. But something like that will point out somebody who's hiding in the bushes, or somebody with a rifle pointed at your front door. Now, if they're using the same thing, which, well, right now they probably wouldn't be using something like that unless they were real pros. But we'll get back to that.
Sure.
So you can scan, you can see these people if they're hiding in the bushes with infrared. So that takes care of that angle. The second thing, have neighbors I can call. That guy pointing a rifle at my front door, he's not going to see a neighbor coming. Well, he might see the neighbor coming, but the thing is,
to flank,
that neighbor is not going to be going through a door that's in a specific static place, and presents a whole new pile of problems for the rest of the crew.
Sure.
But the gist of the idea of that conversation is, if modern society collapses and you call the cops and they're like, yeah, well, we'll show up in a week or two to take a report, or the line's dead because nobody's been maintaining the phone systems, or complete collapse of rule of law, calling the cops all of a sudden is no longer an option. So at first, we're going to get a lot of people interested in taking cattle and raiding food supplies and whatnot. Cattle, kind of a unprocessed commodity. So you take a herd of cattle, you better have somewhere to put them, and then some way of processing. Right. And then you're opening yourself up so that somebody else can come in and take the cattle from you, the same way you took it from somebody else. So that provides a little bit of security there, but not a whole lot. Somebody can come onto the property and take one cow or one steer, or, at that point is like, well, I don't care. I'll just take one animal. It doesn't matter whether it's a steer or a cow, or probably not that bull. And I'll just process that for my family for a while. Okay. Still, it's theft. That's a problem. Now, there were a few people who said, call the cops. Okay. That's an option today, but maybe not in a year from now. Should rule of law collapse. And call your insurance company to get, paid for the cattle that you lost.
What is Jake from State Farm going to show up?
Yay. Because if you can't afford insurance for your cattle, you shouldn't be in that business. Oh, okay. So let's play this out. I have cattle. I have insurance on the cattle. Band of thugs comes onto my property, steals my cattle. I do nothing except for call the cops. What are they going to do? Once the cattle are off my property, it's like, okay, so a cow is a cow is a cow. Well, what about the brand markings? What if I don't even have a registered brand? I don't. Kind of puts me in a situation. Well, okay, so where's your brand on the animal? I don't have a brand. Well, we could talk to the state brand inspector and report. We'll make a report. We'll never see your animals again, but we'll go ahead and make a report. Oh, thank you. Great. I could use a report. Fantastic. So the insurance company will probably go, well, you did get your brand done by the state brand inspector and all of that stuff, right? No. What? I mean, we did the brand inspection when I bought them. Okay. Either they're not going to cover it, or if they do cover it, let's say they cover it. Great. I buy a whole new herd. Not as nice as the last herd, but I go buy a whole new herd. Hey, I've got new cattle on them there hills. So let's do the calculation from the criminal side. Criminals who just stolen the cattle from me go, hey, there he is. He's got a whole new herd. Well, he didn't do anything last time we stole from him. What do you say? I'm pretty sure an insurance company is not going to want to file more claims very often. So the pacifist, well, call the police and then call your insurance company and have the insurance company do. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because that insurance company is going to go under as soon as people realize, hey, that guy's cattle get restocked every time we steal from him. Right. So let's steal from him more.
Yeah, you're the take a penny, leave a penny, but with cows. And
yeah.
You're just leaving pennies. I'm curious if there was any like passive ways to deal with potential thieves. Like everything was so in that discussion, everything was so like you need to be like red alert, wear like a ghillie suit and camp out and stay up all night to watch the bushes. That's kind of what I got out of it. Is there anything like passive like deterrence and alarms and stuff?
Yeah. Certain electric fences, including the one that I have here, can be zoned such that if they're cut or a gate is opened or something like that, it will alert to that zone. So that's a good step in the right direction, as long as we have the electricity to run such things. Sure. Cameras are absolutely a possibility. Another thing, cattle can be trained to a call. So if you call them in with a little bribe of grain every night, You can put them behind walls or something along those lines. Now, we're looking at the possibility of getting an arena for horses. And while it's for horses, should things start to get really bad, we might turn that arena into a safe place for the cattle every night. We call them, get them moved into the arena, and sure, it might be a little devoid of anything to eat. I mean, we could hay them or whatever, but that gets pretty hard to do when you can't get hay. If we put them behind a locked door, it becomes a lot harder to get to them.
Sure.
And a lot easier to surveil them. People have a tendency of using gates instead of just breaking through fences. So putting surveillance on gates is not that hard to do. But anywhere that doesn't have a deep road ditch can be a potential problem. So putting up hedgerows is fantastic security, but that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else can we do? Other active things, like once you're alerted, drones are fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, using a drone to kind of get an above eye view of everything going on the ground. It might be difficult to see people lying in the grass, which is what your infrared is for. And then if the drone is infrared capable, well, that makes it so easy. You know, everything going on.
Put a little 1022 on your drone.
Well, now you're starting to get into part of my specialty in my master's degree from USC.
Weaponizing drones?
No, just robotics.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll have to talk about that a little bit more later. Wow, I didn't realize that there was you've clearly thought about how to protect your cattle a lot. Like, I'm sure it probably keeps you up at night.
No, not really. There's a lot of work here that is just kind of don't have to think a lot about what I'm doing, and gives me time to get into other thought processes. I do think about security a lot. As a programmer, I have to put that inside criminal hat on and be able to look at my program and say, how can this be exploited? How can what I'm doing be exploited to do something bad? Or how can somebody break this security? That sort of thing. So it directly leads to, okay, here I am. I'm building a food supply for myself. How is this going to make me vulnerable? Now, one of the biggest advantages of having nothing is that you have nothing to steal. So you're not very interesting to thieves. As soon as you have something to steal, you become very interesting to thieves. And if they're willing to use violence to get it, that puts you at risk. More risk than having nothing at all. Well, in a time of hunger, having food is a lot. And that's a lot to steal. So if people start going hungry, or if the prices of food go too high, and we don't even have to get into any particularly bad situations. The prices are already going up. So it becomes an economic choice. Is it more economically feasible for me to steal, especially considering the risk of getting caught or shot, or going and getting food the honest way? And this is a calculation everyone has to do for themselves. My goal is to put my finger onto the scale and say, it's too expensive to steal from me. And really, that's what it comes down to. It's not about making a foolproof security plan. It's about making me look less attractive than somebody else. And ideally, making my community look a lot less attractive to thieves and burglars and so on than whoever else. I do believe we have lost our interviewer. Hang on now. I do believe he will be back shortly. He says internet died. Has nothing to do with the power. I wonder if there are any storms going on where he is. I know that there were some thunderstorms here earlier, and he's several hours away, but not really that far. I'm sure this is exciting. Is there, I don't know. I don't know how many, okay. We have people watching, but are there any questions from, well, I don't know. Any questions from anybody?
I'm back for now.
Ah, okay.
For now, we'll see.
Well,
Huh.
okay, did you get the rest of that answer?
Did I what?
Did you get the rest of that answer?
What am I looking at? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, good question. I don't know.
Did you send me a tweet or a direct message?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I hadn't realized that you'd vanished
Oh
because
yeah. Sorry about that.
it's mostly glare on the screen here. So,
The
uh,
the inverter that I have hooked up to my truck to get like that's hooked to my router, uh, it just went out, and so I had to go out there and like restart it or whatever. So thanks for keeping the broadcast alive.
I don't know. Did I?
Actually, yes, we are still because you're still in here. We're still running. So
Okay. Well,
well,
fantastic.
I'll have to edit that in later, but that's fine. Whatever. Um, no, nobody's
Okay.
watching. Everyone watches later, so this is fine. Um,
Well, I asked if there were any questions from the audience. I don't know if I'd be able to see them.
I
I
think
kind of clicked around a little
so.
bit to see.
Yeah. You might be able to see YouTube comments
I
on the
can see the
sidebar and stuff.
comments, but I don't think I could see anything else. Private
Yeah,
chat is very private, I think.
private chat is just between you and I.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. Comments are like YouTube people commenting on YouTube and stuff.
I see.
So after that, who knows when the next one's going to be? But thank you for still being here. Let's talk about what have you tried that failed. Like, let's talk about some failures because everyone's got them, and everyone likes to hear everyone else is failing at something.
Well, drowning my sorrows.
That
Gosh,
doesn't work.
let me see what. Uh, there are definitely certain things that I wish I'd have planned out better. Um, for one thing, I laid down a power line going to a pad for the camper. Well, camper needs 50 amps. Okay, I'll lay down a 50 amp cable for that. Great. If something needs 50 amps, don't ever give it a 50 amp cable. Give it a 70 amp cable or 100 amp cable, because now I'm looking at that exact same spot to build a shop, and 50 amps for that shop is grossly underpowered. So I have one piece of equipment that I'm going to put in that shop that requires 70 amps. So plan ahead, but plan bigger than you need always. The
Or
same.
run it in conduit.
Well, yeah. Well, yes. But if you're going to install a wire in conduit, use bigger conduit than you need.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I ran a line to the greenhouse thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be used for basically some grow lights, some fans. That's about it. Now we have a refrigerator in there, and we're running heaters in there during the cold months, and it's popping the breaker because I didn't give it enough amperage.
Whoops.
So, yeah, always plan for more than you need. So it's not not exactly something I tried that didn't work out. That's more along the line of something that I didn't plan for well enough.
Sure. Yep. I gotcha. I mean, yeah, I think everybody kind of goes through that. Like I've got a hydrant in the yard. I kind of don't really want it there. I've got a well, like it's just not a convenient spot. Or I'd like five more in other places, and that like doing that kind of stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
Well,
doing electrical lines somewhere else, adding plumbing, like to do for like let's say like if we were to do like a tiny house or like a guest house or
sure.
like something, anything like that. Now is not a good time to do it. But I don't know. You need time on a piece of property to like really work through all the possibilities and like, what about this? What about that? That's not going to work. And like, well, now that we got this, now that's really not going to work.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality. That makes sense. I think that's very relatable. What's been the biggest challenge in ranching that you faced?
Uh,
Is it Twitter
well,
comments?
trying to convince a bunch of cattle that they should be where they're supposed to be.
You give them pep talk?
Yeah, motivational speaking to cattle. uh, so yeah, I mean, this is the first bunch of cattle I've ever had, so I need to learn a lot about how cattle move and how not to move them where you don't want them to go. So the temporary paddocks we use, we just use a short stake with a couple of strands of electric wire. Pretty simple setup. Not a whole lot goes into it, and it's perfectly sufficient until something gets the cattle riled up enough to try the electric. We've had horses get in with the cattle and get them moving. That we have a horse that likes to chase cattle. Not cute, but also we have coyotes, and at one point in time we had a paddock, and coyotes went and ran the cattle right out of the paddock. It was not helpful, and now all of a sudden we've got cattle kind of all over the place. We were able to get them back together into some sanity, but I had to learn how to deal with moving the cattle, and we've got livestock guardians for the goats, but would we be able to put those dogs in with a cattle, which would actually be kind of helpful, because coyotes are not going to take down a cow or a bull, and they're not going to attack a herd. But if they can spook that herd so that it gets splintered out all over the place, and maybe they can get in on a calf, well, we've got a pretty expensive problem all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
So, coyotes will take down a young calf, most certainly. So, yeah, I'd like to try at some point integrating livestock guardians with cattle and see how it goes. But that's going to be an experiment, and that would require us taking at least one or two of our livestock guardians away from the goat herd, where they really like the goats and the goats really like them, and the goats are more susceptible to that sort of attack than cattle are. The other idea is to put the cattle in with draft horses or donkeys, because one big donkey will take care of predators pretty handily.
I was gonna say, I've heard of livestock guardian donkeys. Like they'll stomp the crap out of a coyote.
Oh yeah, they'll stomp the crap out of a mountain lion. So
that would be something to watch. Something to see.
Look around. I think there's a video of one such activity on YouTube.
Dang, I'll have to look that up. That sounds insane. I've got a buddy who's actually my very first interview for this. He runs his livestock guardian dogs with his cattle, and it's been pretty successful, except that there was an instance that a cow just calved, and the dog got between the cow and the calf, like thinking like, oh, now I need to protect this calf from this cow. And the cow was like, It charged that dog and like dropped its how he described it to me. He's like, dude, I like just showed up to his place like minutes after it happened. He's like shaking with adrenaline. It's like that cow dropped to like its front knees and steamrolled that dog like on its chest, like on the ground to get back at its calf. And
Yeah.
it could have killed that dog easily,
Oh yeah.
but the dog seemed fine, like surprisingly. Like you got 1,200 pounds on your chest, like you're gonna be
Yeah.
hurting.
Yeah. One of our livestock guardian dogs has fought grizzly and fought
Holy
cougars,
smokes.
and she is a gem and a half. She's the one who gets to be with the goat mamas when they give birth. But we've had to chide her constantly when we have a brand new baby that it's not her baby. It belongs to the goat. Now, at one point, we had a little baby goat who thought she had two mamas, and one of them was the dog. It was adorable, but at least she had learned by that point that, the goat has to be able to have access to its real mom.
Right, right. Yeah, that's so are you actually considering livestock guardian donkey or just more livestock guardian dogs?
For something like that, I think a donkey would be more appropriate. This is kind of a fresh idea in my head, so
Okay.
I'm not gonna dig too much into it right now. Let's put that donkey on order. Okay. So yeah, this is something that I'm just thinking of right now.
Sure.
Now, as far as dogs are for like security against people, fantastic. Except dogs can be bribed, dogs can be shot,
Sure.
dogs can be poisoned, and if people are scouting out their potential victims, they'll take care of the dogs before the act happens if they're smart. Now, at one point, I mentioned, go back and point out a few things about should there be lapse of rule of law. Should there be lapse of rule of law, such raids will become. It's not a painting. Such raids will become common, but the dumb ones will die out quickly, which means that as time goes on, people will become more and more professional and think about what they're doing. And the ones who do a good job will survive, and the ones who do a bad job will not. Uh, this this is going to make securing a farm far more complicated. Using dogs as an early alert system is a fantastic idea, but you have to keep your dogs somewhere where you can control what they're eating and that they can see and hear what's going on. If they're too close to the outside fence, somebody could pass by with some bits of meat and throw the meat in to either bribe the dogs or to poison the dogs. It's very easy to do. Or they'll just do a quick drive by and shoot the dogs in anticipation of a later raid.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it just what do they say about security? Like it's all about how difficult you make it. Like anything can be taken.
Yeah,
It's just level of difficulty. Just as you
right,
just keep increasing the level of difficulty, the risk reward
right.
really gets tipped.
Yeah, and I think we you lost connection by the time I touched on that. I said the idea of security is making it less attractive to steal from me than from somebody else. Now,
Sure.
ideally, what you want to do is you want to look around at your neighbors your community and say, let's make the whole community less attractive to steal from.
Right.
Even in the case of a loss of rule of law, there's going to be local authority to some degree. There might not be federal authority, but there's county level, sheriff's office and whatnot. They're still going to be to some degree in business. There might not be state police necessarily, but there could be state cops who live in the area who will still fill that role. So on and so on. Just because there's a deterioration of command and control does not necessarily mean that people aren't going to do their jobs and maintain a semblance of civilization.
Or there might be a group of battle reenactment guys with a 9-foot spear to maintain law and order.
Believe me, if it came down to the point where I'm using a spear, then all the ammo is gone. All of it.
No, you're doing it for sports, not because you have to.
Oh yeah. And it's a fantastic sport. It has its uses, but there are not many. And yeah, if I had to protect my life, my family, my home, my cattle, unless they were inside the home already and I didn't have access to anything else, yeah, my hand would go right past my sword and grab my rifle. I know where my bread's buttered.
That's totally fair. Yep. It's just amusing. It's an amusing idea though. What's the best part about ranching?
I just love being out here. I gotta say, number one, well, maybe not everybody gets this, but I love the views. This place is stunning, and every single day it's different. You look at the sky it's got personality. And there's snow in the hills not so much snow anymore. There's still patches here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But every season is different. I'm out here. I'm getting my hands dirty. I don't go to the gym. Why should I? I build great muscle just working at the mill. I'm doing a lot of milling lately, and milling timbers for my home, and it's a great workout. It's fantastic. I spent so much of my life tapping away at a computer at a desk. Now I hardly go inside. I love it. So what's my favorite part? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Everything that I do.
Even the bad days are better than the best days at a computer.
Well, the bad days ranching are, sure. There was one time we came home from something or another, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was the dead of winter. Got home only to find that our cattle were on the wrong side of the fence.
Oh, man.
It was minus 22 degrees out there. I think it was 2 a.m. We were dead tired, and we somehow got all the cattle back on the right side of the fence in those conditions. And yeah, I loved it. It was great. It's in so many ways, it's like wearing your shoes with rocks on them because it's so great to take them off. But then again, they say, yeah, I had that rock in my shoe.
funny. So the reenactment thing, you're also a blacksmith. Do you like make your own like swords and weapons and stuff?
I make my own armor. I'm working on my own swords. I've made knives. I'd like to get into making axes. I haven't tried axes yet. I do a lot of pattern welding. So a lot of people call it Damascus.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
Yeah. And I'm learning, but it's constantly learning. I do a lot of metal fabrication. I built my own power hammer. So I
That's
have a
pretty cool.
20-pound power hammer. It's pneumatic. The thing is amazing. Helps me so much with my work.
I suppose if you're using like with like to build your armor, I'm assuming it's plate, and then you have got to get all these curves and contours and stuff. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, actually, armor is usually worked cold, and a lot of that I do by hand.
Oh, okay.
I've gotten into doing some hot work, with armor. But a lot of that is for things like helmet halves. So you curve out. It starts off looking kind of like a flat football shape, and then you dish it out into a half of a helmet, and you put two halves together and weld them up. That's like modern how they put that together. But back in the day, they would have started with a big disc and then formed the whole helmet out of the disc.
Oh, sure.
A lot of it. But that takes a lot of heat. There's a lot of material loss. And you get some very interesting thicknesses in the raised helmet.
I can see that.
Stuff that I'm trying to think back, because it's been years now since I've done a lot of this stuff. I'd like to get back into it, but right now I don't even have a shop here. So
someday, right?
Oh yeah. Probably by winter I'll have a shop here that I can work in, because I'm going to need to start making door hinges and whatnot for the builds.
Make your own door hinges? That'd be awesome.
Oh, absolutely. When you want good looking flowery hinges that somebody can look at and they won't be able to say, I saw those at Home Depot. What are you going to do? Make your own hinges.
Because why not? Why not add another thing?
I do a lot. Well, hinges are not hard to make, and they go pretty quickly. And having handmade hinges, that's just so cool.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just like, it's cool. It's cool to have a hinge. But I mean, think about how many doors you have, and then 3 hinges, and are you going to have custom cabinet hinges as well? Are you going to
that might be a little bit, that's pretty fine when you start doing cabinet hinges. I mean, can I do cabinet hinges? Sure. But would I want to do cabinet hinges for a kitchen full of cabinets? I'll do the pot hanger thingy. Thanks.
There you go. Yeah, you can make one of those. Turn one out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Those rustic looking like nails or whatever, that you can get like a pack on Etsy or something like that for like $10-20. Like those are cool. That would be a sweet like little like aesthetic also.
Well, yeah. One of the biggest things about blacksmithing that there are a lot of people. I want to become a professional blacksmith. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's really cool. The thing is, you have to find what sells, and what usually sells are the little tiny things that you can make in no time at all, but you want to make them by the hundreds, so that you can sell them for very little and still be able to make a living. So there's a fantastic hammer exercise where you take a 1/2 by 1/2 square stock bar, and you make a leaf out of it. Well, that leaf can be used to make a coat hook, or it can be used to make any one of gazillion different things. But this is a fantastic exercise because it teaches you hammer control with rounding hammers. And, this is an exercise that Alex Steele learned from the guy who taught him. I don't remember the guy's name. But, that's a fantastic exercise for learning hammer control, but it also makes a marketable product if you want to set up a little stand with your, blacksmithing goods.
Sure. Yep.
It doesn't take a whole lot of time. It takes more time if you're using steel than, say, copper, but, you can make one of those in 2 heats in copper. With steel, it's more like, well, I don't remember. It's a lot. Maybe 10 heats or so, depending upon how flat you want your, how you want your leaf to turn out.
Right.
But yeah, making nails requires a nail plate. That's you just take a thin piece of metal, put it in the nail plate, and then smash out the head of the nail. And long and short of it, that'll do it. But yeah, rustic nails, they're cool.
Did you ever say how you got into blacksmithing?
Oh, my goal was to make myself a nice sword. Well, I have the technology. I have the know-how. I just need to get around to it. And I still want to make a really cool sword. But now I want to make more than one because, what's the point of making one?
You got 2 hands.
But I also want to make a lot of armor. I also want to make a lot of cool things. There's no end to the cool stuff that I want to be able to do. And hey, I get to play with fire. The old adage, you play with fire, you get burnt. Okay. I get burnt a lot.
Just like I get shocked as an electrician more than I'd like. It's been a little while, but it happens.
You sure?
So
yeah. I'm a little bit out of practice, but my hands were very heat insensitive. It didn't bother me at all to be holding on to something with a gloved hand, of course, and my gloves like smoking. It didn't bother me at all.
Jeez.
So, yeah,
we'll get back there someday, right?
Yeah, give me some time to actually get some stuff set up around here.
There you go. What skills are you currently building?
Milling.
Are you still enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's good. I'm making lumber like nobody's business, and it's good lumber. It's solid stuff. But I'm mostly interested in making timbers because the lumber that I create, it's like, well, I need to remove this much material to get down to the timber size that I want, and there's all this, curvature to the log, and well, I can either make slab wood, which okay, yeah, sure, it's great for firewood. Maybe I could side something with some slab wood because that kind of looks cool too.
Mm-hmm.
But I could also make lumber, and I can make a lot of lumber while I'm, getting the timbers that I want. So hopefully by the time I have a need for lumber, this lumber will be usable still. But I'm making a lot of timbers for a timber frame, and those guys are huge. We're talking 6x10s, 6x12s, 10x10s, 10x14s. Big stuff.
Jeez. No wonder you get a workout being at the mill. Do you have
I'm not picking up a lot of the timbers once they're cut. I'm just picking up the slab wood and the lumber because, sure, it's a 1-inch board. How heavy is a 1-inch thick board?
Depends on how long it is, I guess, and how wide.
18 feet long and 18 inches across. I have a hard time lifting that. Oh, I can lift it, I can carry it. It's like it's not light.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Got
then
them
if it's
there.
like a 2x12, 18 feet long, yikes.
Yeah,
That,
got some weight to it.
but it's also wet.
That's even worse.
Yeah. So all of the timbers for the timber frame are going to be installed wet, so that when they shrink, as they inevitably will,
Mm-hmm.
the the joinery tightens up.
Sure.
And what we were able to slip together when we put it together won't be able to slip apart once it's dry. So I'm running a Woodmiser LT35 hydraulic. It is amazing. The log handling capabilities on that thing is just, it's phenomenal. Uh, it has a log turner that is my best friend in the world right now.
I bet. Sorry,
So
there's a stinking fly in here. Do you have timber frame experience?
nope. So what am I learning? Yes, everything. I'm very much the okay. So what am I going to be doing? Okay, I'm very much the kind of person who's going to jump in both feet without testing the water. And you know what? If I don't know how to swim, I'll figure it out. You know, that's fine.
I'll just kick harder.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. I hadn't driven a tractor with a loader. I think I might have driven one back when I was 16, but it wasn't very much.
Sure. Yep.
So now I have a tractor with a loader with a grapple. That's more interesting. And I'm almost to the point where I can pick up a toothpick with it. And, you know,
That's pretty sweet.
I'm pretty good with it now. I can eyeball things, you know. So I cut the wood on the mill, I pick it up with a grapple, and I take it over to a stack of timbers. And it's a pretty tight stack of timbers, but everything has to be stickered out so that it dries evenly and whatnot. And I have to put the wood onto the stack so that it's not like a pile of randomly placed timbers turning into a big mess. Well, it's a little difficult when the wood is many hundreds of pounds and I'm using a tractor to put it there. It gets a little bit touchy. So I've gotten pretty decent at doing that without any guidance at all. With a little bit of guidance, I can put it exactly where I want it.
Sure. Yeah.
So, you know, tractoring, that's totally new to me. You know, running a skid steer. I never ran a skid steer before. Well, nope, never ran a skid steer before this year. So that's totally new to me. Now it's like second nature. I'm doing a lot more trailer driving than I've done before. Don't need a trailer when you're a programmer living in a condo.
Unless you're living in the trailer.
I'm living in a trailer. Yeah.
I meant as a programmer because you can't afford rent.
Well, I'm living in a trailer because I don't have a house on this property yet.
Oh, that's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah, it's a matter of choice. I mean, do I have a house? Yeah, like 10 of them. Like I said, you know, most of my income actually comes from rentals.
Nice.
So
That's pretty sweet.
I've got lots of rental properties right now. So it's not like I don't have a place to live. It's that where I used to live before I moved here is about an hour's drive from here. I still own that home. I'd like to sell it because that'll give me a lot of liquidity I need. But I still have a bunch of stuff there. All my blacksmithing stuff is still there. All my wood shop is still there. Well, most of my wood shop. most of my tools are still there. All of my desktop computers and furniture and all that other stuff. When you buy a camper to live in, it's already furnished.
Right. Yep.
You get your pots and pans, your plates and bowls, a couple of mason jars for glasses, because why would you put other glasses than mason jars in a camper? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Fine crystal, no, it'll break. Mason jars all the way.
You don't seem like the fine crystal type, anyways.
No. No. You do that stuff, you lose your teeth and get really skinny. It's terrible. So, yeah, no, but you get a lot done.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. Yep. What would you tell people that want to get started ranching, homesteading, farming, any of that?
Well, don't try to start a farm and build a house at the same time unless you absolutely have to and you don't need a job. I mean, that's a lot to do. That's a lot to do,
Yeah,
a lot to jump into suddenly. And there were things that we didn't know that we needed. Like, okay, so at the beginning of this whole deal, my older brother passed away, and there was a dispute regarding his estate. Now, his house and his property belonged to a trust. There was no dispute there. But there were 2 containers sitting on that property that, they're the big shipping containers. The thing is, they're titled separately, even though he bought them with the house. They belonged to him personally. Therefore, they're part of the estate and they couldn't go with the house. Well, we couldn't find anywhere to store them. We needed to sell the house. Because the house being in a trust, there's no dispute there. So we needed to find a place for these containers to go. And we couldn't find anywhere. So my twin brother, yes, I'm a twin, and I decided we'll just move them here. I didn't want the containers. What I didn't realize is that I needed the containers.
The container, not the contents?
The contents, whatever. For the most part, the contents, just some scrap metal. My bicycle from when I was a teenager. Wait a second. How did that end up there? A few other things, very little of value. But now they're loaded with animal feed. They've got a couple of freezers in there, storage shelves for jars for milk and all kinds of other stuff, tools and extra saw blades for the mill, etc. We needed these containers. I had no idea.
You lucked into it.
Well, kind of. I mean, the thing is, shipping the containers here cost more than the containers were worth, but we couldn't sell them. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't sell what was in them. But now that the estate has sorted out, well, I guess I have a couple of containers plus contents.
There you go. Now you got a place to put your stuff while you're working on all 87 of your things, whatever you're doing.
Oh, well, yeah. 87, yes. Oh, yeah. I've got a creek. I haven't dipped my feet into it.
Is that a metaphor for something?
No, that's quite literal.
I literally put your feet in a creek.
I have not put my feet into the water of that creek yet because I've been that busy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'd love to.
Like ever or just this year?
I haven't been here that long. Oh. Last year it was dry. And up until the snow started to melt, it was dry. Now it's roaring and gorgeous, and I haven't had a chance to put my feet into the water.
Damn, I guess I'm holding you up on putting your feet in the creek. So I appreciate your time.
Well, I'm enjoying this, and
Me
this
too.
is something that I've felt that I mean it's a good thing to do. It gives me a
Thank
chance to
you.
be famous.
I don't know about that. All right, calm down, calm down. If you do have some more time, I'd like to ask you some more questions after wrapping this up, if that's
I
cool.
have more time.
Awesome.
Yeah, the sun's just about to tip down, which is great because I get to take these off.
So, what would you like? Anything you want to wrap up on specifically, or just like, no, follow me on Twitter, blah blah blah.
Oh, well, I'm not consciously trying to build a Twitter following. Surprise. Uh, I just make an occasional post
It's
and get some
there.
attention, I guess. Whatever.
I got you.
I'm cool with that. I just do my own thing. What can I say? Look out for your community. Make sure you have a community worth looking out for. Um, get to know your neighbors, get to know your folk. Um, who has what, who needs. If you see to your neighbor's needs, you offer a fair price. When you need them, they'll be there to help you. And this is something that we've been working on. We haven't been here for very long, but community is one of the things that we've been trying to build as quickly as possible. And we've gotten in touch with local groups and made a lot of friends since we've been here. If you have something that you can offer your community, offer it. And people are in need of what you have. So our main markets here, our main market, number one main market is raw milk, and people want it very badly. We haven't even really gotten into the goat's milk this year, but that is a fantastic, easy market to get into. If you need to start up a workable living on a low budget, get some goats, rotate them on some grass, milk them, and you can actually live on that. As long as it's legal in your area, and even if it isn't legal in your area, hey, you could still do that as long as you manage your customer base, right?
That's right. They're wild goats. I don't know how they got here. I've actually been trying to get rid of them.
Well, one of the things that you can do is you could set up a cooperative where your goat herd is owned by the collection of your customers, and they contract with you to extract the milk for them, right?
Yes. And I'm not drinking the milk. It's for my animals.
Well, no, they own. Well, it's perfectly legal to have your own goat and milk it too. Why not expand to the idea of having a share of a goat herd and having contracting with somebody else to milk that goat for a particular price? If raw milk is not legal in your area, there are ways around that you can work with that. Luckily, raw milk is now legal here, and
Nice.
we've been taking advantage of that fully.
Good.
So, and our customers, well, we can't keep up with our customers' demand. With 3 milk cows going full time, it's amazing.
Nice. Well, let's wrap it up there.
All right.
I've got more questions for you, so hang tight really quick. You are, oh crap. at, I don't even know how to say this word. Oglibate.
Oglibate Varnicor. Obligate Carnivore was taken, and I'll swap consonants quite often because it has some interesting linguistic effects sometimes. So I just did that to the name, and ta-da.
I'll have a link.
Yeah.
I'll post a link, and so people can learn more about how to best protect the cattle that they have or may not have, or whatnot.
Believe me, for the most part, I just ask questions, but it's important to ask questions.
Yeah.
You ask the right questions, you get answers you need.
Yes, very much so. So yeah, for everybody else, follow us, FarmHopLife, pretty much everywhere. And thank you for watching. I thank you for your time. Appreciate you sticking with me through the power outages here. It's been insane weather. Like, yeah, whatever.
We had that yesterday.
Yeah, we got it. I think we got it yesterday and today. So it's been insane. But yeah, anyways, to prevent my rambling, I'm gonna close this and I'm gonna ask you some more questions. So